Scott in Mission, Kansas. Hey, Scott, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom, I was curious. I saw a thing a week ago about Trump reconsidering the TPP, and
Right.
I was curious what your input was on it.
Well, he's got Gary Cohn and Steve Mnuchin in his cabinet, as arguably economic advisors, and they're both, big bankers and Goldman Sachs guys and neoliberals. And then he's got Lighthizer and who's the other guy who is in favor of tariffs and going back to the pre-neoliberal era. And, these dueling factions basically within the White House. And I think Trump's own instincts, he was a businessman back in the 70s and 80s. He knows what it was like before the neoliberal consensus emerged. And the problem is that he's not going, what he's doing is window dressing. B, it's probably not even going to be done, but even if it is, it's not going to be all that effective. It's a little tiny slice of a very, very, very large problem. It's more symbolic than anything else. He's tossing a sop to the steelworkers in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, the Rust Belt where he won the last election. His official 2020 campaign kicked off a week or so ago. I mean, they hired a campaign manager and everything. So I see this as just, Trump campaigning. I don't think that, I agree with Steffi Kelton. I don't think that the neoliberal consensus is anything close to dying at the level of policy and policy maker. At the level of the average American, we all know we got screwed. Yeah, we all know it, right? And that's why, whether it's Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump, or Elizabeth Warren, when politicians come right out and say, the system is rigged and it's rigged in favor of the billionaires and the big corporations, we're all nodding our heads going, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, like when George H.W. Bush proposed NAFTA and then he lost the re-election and Bill Clinton passed NAFTA anyways.
Yeah, well, Clinton campaigned on it too. You'll recall that one debate the two of them had with Ross Perot, and Ross Perot was the anti-NAFTA guy. And Ross Perot pulled almost 20% of the vote. He gained 19.2% of the vote in 1992. That is substantial. I mean, that meant that a lot of Americans, and Ross Perot was a single issue candidate, and his vice presidential candidate, came across Governor or Admiral Stockton, came across as a bumbling, kind of old, I don't want to criticize him for being old, but he came across as a guy who was, kind of starting to lose it, shall we say, and probably was, but still, 20% of Americans said, yeah, this guy is right, and it turns out, you look back in retrospect, that he was absolutely right. Scott, thank you for the call. It's a fascinating topic.